Greetings, Quester, and welcome to the Quest Report with Matt and Richard.
Welcome to the Quest Report, and we are going to talk about Pandemic Cthulhu, well, Reign of Cthulhu. Now, we haven't talked about him in a few episodes, and it's starting to get a bit weird.
I've not even been wearing my Cthulhu hat.
I know. We start to feel a bit unsettled when we don't talk about our master in a few.
We get very disturbing dreams.
Yeah, we were saying before, we only do this programme because he's controlling us from the bottom of the sea and making us do it. So, yeah, we're going to talk about him today. And so this is a version of Pandemic. So Pandemic normally is a game about containing an epidemic, or a pandemic, a disease.
Yeah, different viruses and diseases.
So basically this is a different version of that, but one based on the works of Lovecraft. And with a lot of the games, we really recognise the characters and a lot of these old ones. So we have these quite large cards that represent old ones, and these go at the top of the board. And what's basically going to happen throughout the game is every time some of the cultists, these little guys, there's lots of these cultists, they're all the same, but they turn up in different parts of Arkham and Innsmouth and the other places. Yeah, there's 4 places, like little towns that they can turn up.
So you've got Arkham, Dunwich, Innsmouth, and Kingsport.
Yeah, all places from the books. Yeah,
and each of those are divided into regions, aren't they?
Yeah, and basically we each take a investigator to travel around, and on our turns we can defeat a cultist. You've got 4 actions you can do, and you can walk, you can defeat a cultist, and there's other things you can do, like take the bus or seal a gate, which is like the portal type things that they're trying to bring monsters through from. And basically, if 3 cultists get into one location, because more will appear each turn, won't they? And if there's 3 already there, and then you would have to put a 4th one there, instead of doing that, they summon like the next old one. So we have all the cards at the top, but they'll all be kind of turned face down with just the scary backs showing.
So you don't know what's going to be coming next. You reveal them over when.
Yeah. The only one that we do know is that right at the end there is
Cthulhu.
So
and if he comes out, you lose the game, don't you?
Yeah, it just says here, the world is plunged into an age of madness, chaos, and destruction. You have lost. So if that
unless your ultimate aim was to plunge the world into chaos, madness, and destruction.
Yeah, then it's only the other people that have lost. You basically won your version of the game.
But ultimately, your game objective here is to get rid of all the gates, isn't it? To stop.
If you've done that, then you've won, because
there's 4 gates.
Then no more ones can come through. So,
1 in each region.
Yeah. So we've got our little investigators here, and it can be one of several characters. They're just kind of defined by their jobs. They're very shallow people.
There's the doctor, isn't it? The detective. You've got the driver, the street magician, the reporter. You've got all these, and these are, if you've played normal Pandemic, you can see where these different skills and abilities have come straight from one game into this, and they've just been rethemed.
I have to take your word for
differently.
that. Yeah. I've only played games that have got Cthulhu. So we have a sanity die that you have to roll at certain times.
After completing a gate, use the gate action. After resolving the effects of a relic card.
Yeah, there's certain times where you have to roll one of these. Because you can collect relics, and that's a nice little thing, isn't it? Because normally you're kind of just going around and you can do your unique ability that your character can do. But depending what relics you've collected, you might have something else you can do as well. But when you use one, because of the weirdness of the whole thing, you have to roll the sanity die, and it can.
This is because the relics aren't one of your actions, because you get 4 actions, don't you?
Yeah, you can.
One character has 5. I can't remember who, but one of the characters has 5 actions. But then you've got your different actions that you can use, which is
the doctor has 5.
That's it. Which is to walk, which means you can move from one location to an adjacent location. Using the bus, which is travelling from a bus station, you discard a card to go to somewhere else in that town, or anywhere on the board if you've got a card that matches your current town. Using the gate to go from one location to another. giving a clue or a card or a relic card to somebody else in your location, defeating one of these cultists, or you can spend 3 actions to defeat a Shoggoth, or you can discard 5 clues to seal a gate, which is one of the things you've got to do to win the game.
That is very concise.
And using the relic cards doesn't count as one of those actions, but you can only use one on your turn, can't you? I think
sometimes you can use them like whenever. I think.
Sorry, yeah.
It's just that you have it, and that's the advantage.
Sometimes if one of the certain ancient old ones cards make it so that only the current player can use them, can't they?
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of.
So the game keeps changing depending how many old ones are out and which ones are out. So at the beginning of the game, you shuffle all the ones that aren't Cthulhu and then just put a few of them out. So you never really know how the game's going to progress. They're a little bit like the Westeros cards. it's like the weather, which old one is stamping around the city at the moment. So,
and this Nyarlathotep card does look pretty nasty, doesn't it?
Yeah. It looks like one of those fish on the bottom of the sea. Investigators may no longer do the use a gate action. I never really do that anyway. It's a weird thing where obviously you're in these different locations and you can walk to different ones, but you can go to one of these bus stations and you can use a card to take the bus, or you can use one of the cards from the area that you're in. If it's like the right card, for say you're in Arkham, and use an Arkham card and discard that, then you can take the bus to anywhere, can't you? So I think that's really useful. And
you don't have to roll a sanity die for that, because when you use a gate, you have to, because you're travelling through a horrible gate, aren't you?
Why go through a dimension to a nightmare universe and then out the other side where you can just take the bus?
Yeah.
And so I tend to do that. But yeah, if you do one of these things, you roll the sanity die, and it's a really cool little thing. So this is the only one that you just have the one in the game, don't you? And it can be blank, or it can have this swirly pattern, which means you get 1 insanity token.
You lose the sanity token, don't you?
Right, so you have the sanity, and then if you lose them...
4 sanity tokens you start off with, aren't they?
Yeah, and so you would lose 1, you can lose 2, and that would be very annoying. And there is this other symbol with these 2 little triangle guys, and that is 2 cultists turn up in your current location, so that could be very bad.
Because if you're rolling the sanity die too often, because there are quite a few things that will make you roll the sanity dice.
Yeah, just being in a Cthulhu story.
Yeah. And if you lose all 4 of your sanity, you do go insane. That's not as big a problem here as it is in some of the other Lovecraftian games, because all you do is you flip your investigator card over, which means you get 1 less action, and your abilities can be modified. But then
you have a different modifier here, and you have less actions. Yeah,
but then you can seal a gate and become fully sane again.
Yeah, and then you just turn up in Arkham Hospital, go through some counselling, I expect, and then you're sane again. So, one of the interesting things I wanted to talk about is the way that, there's 2 things. First of all, we have these Evil Stirs cards,
and they're mixed into the deck, aren't they?
Yeah, when you're setting up the deck of where cultists are going to turn up, because that's all kind of very random. What you do is you divide the deck into 4, and then you mix one of these Evil Stirs cards into it, and then you put the deck together.
Yeah.
So basically every quarter of the way through there'll be a card at some point. It could be...
Sometimes you can get one after the other as well.
You can if you're very unlucky, but they're generally a little bit spaced out. You at least know that they're going to be slightly spaced out. They're not going to be just completely random.
Actually, one game we had 3 of these old ones cards revealed one after the other, because we had 2 of the Evil Stirs came out simultaneously.
Yeah.
And that triggered, because of the drawing the cards and putting more cultists on the board, that meant that we then ended up with a summoning.
Yeah.
Which had a 3rd card turned over.
Yeah, if the cultists get together, they tend to summon something from another dimension.
Something's always going to get a little bit summoned, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically what I was going to say though is that even if you're stopping the cultists very well, like one of these will still turn up every now and then, and another old one will be revealed. So the game still progresses. The other thing was, one of the things that happens when evil stirs is, first of all, you fight the madness, which is roll the sanity die. Then there's an awakening, where you reveal the next old one. Then a Shoggoth appears. So that's one of these guys. Now, these are a bit different to the normal baddies. You need to use 3 actions to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't just stay where they are. Every time a little Shoggoth symbol appears on one of the cards that we draw, it will move.
Those cards. So each turn it's got a chance to move, hasn't it?
Yeah, and what they do is they move towards the nearest gate. Now, at the start of the game, there's a gate in every location, but like as we progress, we close some of them, don't we? So these guys are just walking slowly towards a gate, and if they get there, it's okay. But then if we reveal another Shoggoth thing, and they would normally move a bit, they disappear, don't they? They go in the gate, and they cause another old one to appear. So basically, you want to stop these guys from getting to the gates. Now, the 4th thing that happens on an Evil Stirs card is the cultists regroup, and I think this is a great mechanic, because what you do is you shuffle the cards, that location cards that you've already used. You shuffle them and then you put them back on the top of the deck. And what that means is that locations that have had cultists appear in the past are likely to have them again, because you're getting the same cards, just shuffling them and putting them back on top. So basically, as you progress through the game, the same places are getting cultists. There's like these areas where there's a lot of cult activity. It's like where they're doing a lot of recruiting, or I don't know what they're doing. But you get those areas. Then as you go through, obviously you get a bit further through the deck each time. And there's more locations that they're spread to. So sometimes, some games you play, there'll just be a lot of cultists, like say in Arkham, and then not many in Dunwich until later in the game. And then later on you have to start moving over to Dunwich to try and defeat them there as well. So I think that just works very well, because it's not completely random.
Yeah.
You can kind of know where they might appear, which is what it'd be like if you were an investigator.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be completely clueless. So, yeah.
And I think as well, it's quite interesting how some of the different player abilities work, because you might be thinking, right, well, I'm going to go and try and go to this area and contain as many of these cultists as I can, while this player, because of their abilities, are going to go and try and chase down a Shoggoth and making sure you're using your character to the best. Same with Pandemic. But it's actually a very fast-paced game. I actually find this much faster than Pandemic. On your turn, the way it works is that you do your 4 actions, then you draw 2 player cards and resolve, if you're unfortunate enough to get one of the Evil Stirs cards, and then you draw summoning cards. Now, your drawing player cards are when you're getting your clue cards and possibly some relics.
Yeah.
But then you've also got your drawing your summoning cards, which are telling you where to put your
The cultists. Yeah.
And that's where things usually go really badly very quickly. And you can, as we say, within the space of a couple of turns have several old ones summoned, and the game can end. I mean, I've known games of this end in like 15 minutes, because you've just had a really bad chain of events. So there is a bit of a random element, but I like how fast paced the game is. I like the way it's themed. I think it's thin Lovecraftian. You're not going into the lore of it like you do with maybe some of the other games like Aldrich or Mansions of Madness. But the theme actually suits really, really well to this game. And I like that it's co-op and we're playing together as a team. We're working together. I think some people might not like the random nature of it, but then the same would be said for Pandemic. It can be annoying when you keep turning over cards that mean you keep having to draw more ancient ones. But on the plus side, if that happens and the game suddenly ends, it's very quick to reset and play another game.
Yeah, and when you shuffle the old ones and put them back out again, I mean, it could be a completely different game the next time.
Very much so. And on some of those cards, you've got the potential to be able to turn some of those cards over. It doesn't slow the track down, but it just means that you cancel out that old one's ability.
You can cancel their ability sometimes. There's some artifacts that you can put on top of an old one, isn't there, as well?
I definitely feel that this is a tougher game than Pandemic.
Right.
But I prefer it for that.
Okay. I think I never really feel like I want to play Pandemic. I mean, I'm all in favour of viruses being contained, but as far as a game goes, I prefer this kind of theme. And like you say, the theme, the artwork is great. The theme works really well for a game like this because basically you rely a lot on your imagination. Really, you're trying to stop these monsters from being drawn through into our world, and you do kind of really feel like you're doing that while you're playing it, because like these cultists appear in different places and you think, oh, I have to try and travel over there before they and you don't know whether or not they're going to manage to do an awakening before you get there. And there could be other concerns as well. There could be a Shoggoth walking towards a gate somewhere else, and you get quite into it.
Or you can be in a place and the Shoggoth moves in.
Yeah, and then you have to roll the sanity die because it's so ugly. So yeah,
and it's and with the board, I love the artwork on the board. The board's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, we when Heather was with us, we played this, and we actually ended up trying to make it atmospheric. So we put some music on, played by candlelight, didn't we?
Yeah,
that was fun. That was creepy, but it was creepy fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was very creepy actually. But it does work quite well by candlelight.
It does. Actually, you don't need to see that much. But
these guys are quite bright as well. Like they show up in the light.
Yeah, the light reflects off them fairly well. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed this. Much prefer this to normal Pandemic. And if you have played Pandemic, you'll pick this up and you'll go through this rulebook in about 5 minutes because so much of the mechanics are the same. So that is Pandemic: Reign of Cthulhu by Z-Man Games. Thank you.
Farewell, Quester. To find out about other productions by the Meddlesome Meeples, then check out our channel or rendezvous with us at meddlesomemeeples.com. Until next time, Quester, farewell and keep thine axe sharp.